Imagine it's 1978, Birmingham. Or maybe South London, it's 6 p.m. and the lights just flickered, then died. The 3-day week is in full swing and the power is out again. You're 7 years old, huddled under a thick wool blanket that smells of mothballs. The only light comes from a flickering candle stuck in a saucer. But then a sound comes from the kitchen. It's the sound of a tin opener meeting a metal can. You knew that sound. It meant dinner was coming. But it wasn't just dinner, it was a ritual of survival. Today, we think of survival food as something for hikers or preppers. But in the 70s, it was just Tuesday. Tonight, I'm taking you back to the taste of the Great Freeze. From the miracle powders that turned into dessert, to the tinned meat that could survive a nuclear blast. And stay tuned, because I'm going to reveal the one luxury item that caused a literal riot in a Lancashire supermarket in 1979. Before we talk about the food, you have to remember the cold. We didn't have double glazing. We had ice on the inside of the windows. You'd wake up and scrape a frost layer off your bedroom glass just to see the milkman struggling through 2 feet of snow. Central heating, that was for the posh kids. We had a paraffin heater that choked the air with a smell I can still taste today if I close my eyes. When the power went out, the gas stove was your best friend. And at the back of every British pantry stood the king of the 70s, the Frey Bentos pie. Opening a Frey Bentos was like an archaeological dig. You'd peel back that tin lid, carefully because those edges were like razor blades, and there it was, a pale, uncooked layer of puff pastry sitting on a bed of, well, we called it meat. But when it came out of the oven, that soggy grey bottom layer of pastry soaked in salty gravy, that was pure gold. It was warm, it was heavy, it was 45 pence of pure comfort. Do you remember the schloop sound? The sound Spam made when it slid out of the tin in one perfect wobbling rectangular block. We didn't just eat it, we fried it until the edges were black and crispy. We called it poor man's steak. If you were lucky, Mum would serve it with a side of Pepto-Bismol pink smashed mashed potatoes. Just add boiling water and pretend it ever saw a real field. The Vesta curry. This was the height of 1970s glamour. It came in a box. It had tiny, shriveled, dehydrated prawns that looked like pencil shavings. You'd boil them and they'd miraculously turn into something resembling food. It tasted mostly of salt and disappointment. But for 30 minutes, we weren't in a frozen terraced house. We were in the Far East. It was the first time an entire generation of Brits tasted spice, even if that spice was just 90% turmeric and MSG. Now let's get real. When the strikes hit and the shelves were empty, we went back to basics. Basics our grandparents knew, bread and dripping. Every Sunday roast, the fat was saved in a pot. By Wednesday, it was a solid, grey-white mass at the bottom of the larder. You'd scrape it onto a thick slice of white bread, sprinkle it with a mountain of salt, and that was it. It was pure fat, it was fuel, it kept us warm when the coal ran out. It sounds horrific to a 20-year-old today, but to us, it was the taste of home. But dinner wasn't over. We needed a win. We needed Angel Delight. This was the 70s version of alchemy. A packet of dust, a pint of silver-top milk, and 5 minutes of vigorous whisking. If you left it in the fridge, which was basically just the windowsill back then, it turned into a fluffy chemical cloud of strawberry heaven. It was the ultimate dopamine hit. It didn't matter that the bins weren't being collected outside or that the schools were closed. You had a bowl of pink fluff. Everything was going to be okay. Earlier, I mentioned the luxury item that caused a riot. In the late 70s, inflation was soaring. Prices changed every week. But in January 1979, during the winter of discontent, there was a sudden shortage of butter. In a small supermarket in Preston, a delivery truck arrived with only 20 cases of Anchor butter. People who had been standing in the freezing rain for 2 hours snapped. They didn't want the margarine, they didn't want stork. They wanted real butter for their toast. The police had to be called to break up a fight between two grandmothers over the last salted pack. It showed us how thin the line was between civilized Britain and total chaos. We didn't have much. We had grey meat, powdered potatoes, and heaters that smelled like old garages. But there was something about those 1970s winters. Because the power was out, we actually talked. We played cards by candlelight. We shared a single tin of peaches like it was a feast. The food was terrible, the weather was worse, but we survived it together. Which one was it for you? Was it the Frey Bentos pie with the soggy bottom, or the smell of the paraffin heater? Drop a comment below and tell me the one survival food your mum made that you never want to taste again. And look, if you're sitting there thinking of a brother, a sister, or a childhood friend you used to huddle under those mothball blankets with, do them a favor and send them this video. Use that share button as a 10-minute time machine. Send it to that one person who was there in the dark with you during the power cuts of '78. Send it and just ask them, do you remember the taste of that Vesta curry? I guarantee you it'll start a conversation you haven't had in years. If this brought back memories, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.